Hello, my name is Mick and I decided to make this slideshow of 3 walks that I like to do around Scarborough, 3 circulars. They're starting at the railway station, which I thought would be a good place that everybody would know where to start from. These 3 walks all use the Cinder track, which is the old Scarborough to Whitby railway line, and then they come back along the cliff tops. So there's not a lot that you can get wrong with them as regards going anywhere wrong. But I will point out as we go along anywhere that I think could be a little bit of problem. And as you can see from this slide, the 3 walks are different variations, mileage wise obviously. The first one, which is the shortest, is about 6.5 miles, and that comes off at Scarborough. The next one comes off at Burniston, and that's about 8.5 miles, round trips these. And the final one comes off at Clown, which is about 11.5 miles. I tend not to do the Clown one these days because, well, I'm in my 70s, but the distance is not really a problem for me. But I've got rheumatoid arthritis recently, and it tends to play havoc with me ankles and my toes and that, because there's about 3 quite steep inclines and then climbing back up right down to the sea level and then back up again. I'll speak about them as we get a bit nearer to that. Okay, so we're starting at the railway station, and if you've got your back to the station, and so the sea would be on your right hand side, right down into the beach, you'll see the Stephen Joseph Theatre across, and you're going to go left along that road. You'll see it on the photographs in a minute, and then you're going to go into Sainsbury's car park. So here we are at the station, and that's the road that you're going to be going up along towards the A64. That's the Stephen Joseph Theatre that's opposite the station. This is actually an infrared shot of the theatre, but you'll know it's the old Odeon. So go along this road for about half a mile, and you'll come to a set of pedestrian crossings that lead you over into Sainsbury's. So go across the pedestrian lights, and you'll see the main way into Sainsbury's petrol station and the main supermarket. And you can walk down past the front of the supermarket right to the very far corner. And that's the start of the Cinder track. Now obviously you can get on this track, depending where you are in Scarborough, you can get on this track at various places. There's many roads crisscross it, and there's paths leading on and on it all the way to Scarborough more or less. So if you were at Peasholm End, you could cut the walk a bit shorter by picking up the track. You can go through the graveyard and on Dean Road and things like that. Now when you get to the bottom of Sainsbury's car park, you'll see the track, and you'll see the markers, these trail markers that were provided by the Royal Bank of Scotland. I think it says 23.5 miles to Whitby. And at the bottom end of this is a big children's play area. So the area is covered in a lot of graffiti, but don't let it put you off. It's still okay to walk through there. And you'll soon see it's a tarmac path just leading away from the supermarket. You'll see the path as it leaves the children's play area. On a lot of these photographs, you'll see that lady in front. It's my good wife. She's used to me being behind her taking photographs of things. Speaking about photographs, some of these are a bit dull. It was a September day. It was a lovely day really, a nice day for walking, but it wasn't that good photographically. It was quite dull and misty. But as I said, you'll see quite a few shots of her in front of me. Now, quite a few cyclists use this trail because it goes all the way up to Whitby. We try and do it midweek. I would think if it's a bank holiday or the weekend, it's going to be really busy with cyclists. But on a normal midweek day, it's not too bad, and it's a pretty wide path on most part. You won't pick any cyclists up coming back on the cliff tops, but you do on this path quite a few. The path passes by that really massive graveyard in Scarborough. As I said, you can't get access to it from the top of Peasholm. It's a very interesting graveyard actually. It's full of really old monuments. It's massive. As you as you start to leave Scarborough more towards Scalby, you go across this massive field. I shan't narrate on every slide because basically you're just following the path where it takes you. So don't worry if it goes silent for a little bit. Some of these old bridges that you go under are carrying roads, obviously above, and most of them have got a leadway from the road that you can come down a little path to get onto the trail if you want to. As you start to get into Scalby, you'll go over this narrow bridge which is going over the Scalby Beck sea cut. That's the river that flows out towards near the Sea Life Centre in Scarborough. So you know when you hit this thin bridge that you're very near to Scalby. And as you come into Scalby, you can just go through this like a small housing estate, just follow the road round. You can't go wrong because that's the only way in and off the housing estate. When you get to the top of this road, it's a T-junction, you're going to be turning right and then immediately left. Well, I'll explain as we get to the top. Now the road at the top is called Station Road, and if you're going to come off, if you're doing the shortest walk, then you need to go right and follow this road right through to the cliff tops, and then you just come back along the cliffs down into towards the Sea Life Centre. This map more or less shows you how it is. You come across, you go on the main road and you'll come to another big main road that goes to Burniston, and you'll see the public footpath signs at the end of that road. Okay, as we're on the station road, you'll turn right, and if you're going on the longer walks, you turn immediately left, which is across the road there. If you are going on the shorter walk and you want to see where the path joins the cliff top, then you can either watch the whole of the slideshow or you can spin it on to 1954 and you'll see then where it joins the cliff tops and down into Scarborough. Taking the longer routes, you're going to go up this road and turn right onto Lancaster Way, go right to the very end, and it looks like a dead end, but the path's at the end. The path is just along here on the right hand side. There are some of the cycle Transpennine type signs, but they're not always easy to spot. But they are pointing the path out usually. So far the path's been either cement or tarmac, but as you get just a few hundred yards along this path now, it does go to the old cinder path that they used to do on the railways. just keep following the path, and eventually it's a mile or so, you'll come to this little wooden bridge that you're going to go right over the like a little stream. Now this short path takes you into Burniston, and on the right hand side as you're going up the path you'll see a garden centre that sells ice creams and things, but in 2023 when I took these shots, the garden centre was up for sale, so it may not be there in future, or it may not be a garden centre anymore, I don't know. You'll now come off the trail and you'll be onto a main road, and you're going to turn left at this sign, and in front you'll see another set of pedestrian lights that you need to go across. These are the lights, and you just need to go across and you'll see the track at the other side. Now if you're doing the middle walk, you'll be coming off the trail soon. Just about a quarter of a mile on this track you'll come to a small bridge that goes over a single track road. Just before the bridge you'll see a little runway down that takes you onto that single track road. If you went left you'd be back into Burniston to where the Three Jolly Sailors are, but you're going to go right and head for the cliff tops. As you can see from the map, you go along it's called Field Lane, and you're just heading towards the cliff tops. You'll come to like I think it's a kennels, a big farm. You'll be turning right, following the road, and you'll come to a little car park, well, where cars can park, where people take the dogs and go down onto the beach or along cliff tops, and then you just follow the cliff top back into Scarborough. We're on the bridge now. We're walking towards Cloughton, but you can see that the road goes up towards the cliff top. It's a very narrow road, and cars do use it. I said they go down to park to get down onto the beach and that. So just be careful as you walk up the road. Okay, so if you're taking the middle walk and you want to see where this one from Burniston joins the cliff top, then you need to either watch the rest of the show or forward on to 18 minutes 24, and you'll see it as it joins the cliff top at the car park. Okay, so we're carrying on the trail now towards Cloughton. It gets narrower in places, but it's still a Cinder trail virtually all the way to Ravenscar, I believe. So along that trail you'll eventually come to the old railway station at Cloughton. Now this used to be a really nice tea rooms. I think you can stay there in some of the units, but it used to have a nice tea gardens where the railway line went through. They made it a very nice garden, but unfortunately it is closed now. And last time we went, we thought we'd get a cuppa and a bun or something there, and we didn't take any refreshments with us, which were a bit silly. So just be aware if you're doing especially the long walk, make sure you take a flask or some water or whatever and a bite to eat. It's not a long way after the station that you'll be coming off at Cloughton to get back over onto the cliff tops. Now as you walk along the path, watch out for, it's quite a high bridge obviously up above you, and that's taking the single track road again down to the cliff tops. You need to come off at that bridge, and this is the track that comes off, but I've not got a photograph from below where the bridge is. But you'll see it. It's pretty high up in the air. As you come off the bridge, it goes onto a very narrow road called Salt Pans Road. It can be busy because there is a bit of car parking at the bottom where climbers and dog walkers and walkers tend to park if they're going possibly towards Ravenscar or the other way where we're going. This is the bridge from the road end. So if you walk under this bridge, you've gone too far. You'll have to come back up to get onto the road. As you get towards the end of the tarmac road, you'll see the footpath following the cliffs that we're going to be going on to. You can see the cars parked at the end of the road. They can't get any further because it's a big drop down towards the sea. And we want to be following the field on the right hand side. Just follow it round and you'll get to the cliff tops. It's usually pretty well signed unless they've had landslips and things, but there are several paths that get you across onto the top there. Now you can see what I mean by there's a lot more up and down on this last section on the bigger walk, and there's at least three, maybe four of these type of drop downs and climbs back ups. Looking back now towards Ravenscar, and you can see a few cars that we've just walked past at the bottom of the hill there. This is more or less the same shot looking back to Ravenscar, but on a lot better day than we had when I took the first photograph. So just keep following the cliff path, and you can't go wrong. Obviously the sea's on your left and there's the fields on the right. Eventually you'll come to the long now, it's a bird observatory now, but it was the coastal defences unit that you can actually see this right from Scarborough Castle end. When you come round the bay, if it's a clear day, you can just see the white dot on the cliff tops. As we leave the bird observatory, you'll look across the fields towards the right, and you can see a farm on the right hand side there. That's where, if you did the middle walk, this is the path that you would come towards that farm, and then along the opposite end of this field. And as you get around the field, you'll see where the cars can park. This is the track that comes from Burniston. Now you want to be heading for those cars, although there's a cut-off that drops you down onto the road and back up. It can be quite overgrown. You're much better off walking to the cars where they park, and then it's a decent path through onto the... you're on the Cleveland Way actually, so it's pretty well signed. Yeah, this is the one I wouldn't go down. It can be quite steep and overgrown. And say you've only got to walk round to where the cars are, and you're staying on the level. So from here we're just carrying on right into Scarborough, and this is pretty straightforward now. You're not many up and downs and that, you're just slight hills and things. So it's a pretty decent path all the way now into Scarborough. Again, another shot from a much brighter day than the rest of the images. Now this part of the cliff tops, more or less, if you came on the shortest walk came in from Scalby, this is the path you'd pick up more or less straight away, and then you'd be down into towards the Sea Life Centre following this path. This is the sea cut Scalby Bake that we passed. If you remember when we were going into Scalby over the narrow bridge, this was the stream stroke river that you cross over. And as you get towards the end, you'll see the bridge going across to the pub and towards the Sea Life Centre that you'll be crossing over in a minute. As you drop down all the stone steps towards the pub, you'll see the Ravenscar sign saying it's 9 miles to Ravenscar. We have walked right from Robin Hood's Bay, which is about 12-14 mile. But that is it's beyond me now. That is quite a tough walk on the cliff edge, right from Robin Hood's Bay. And another earlier shot, this one's taken from that bridge that goes over to the pub, but as I say, it's on a much brighter day. Well, from the Sea Life Centre, there are several ways you can walk back to the railway station. You can either cut through I assume most people probably know anyway, but you can cut through the open air theatre if there's no events on, or walk round the seafront until you get to P-Zone Park and then up Columbus Ravine. But I thought I'd just leave the map on in case some people didn't know. And the mileages that I've put down do go back to the station, but obviously if you're staying somewhere else in Scarborough, you can just cut off to wherever. So I hope it's been clear enough for you, this little slideshow. And there's some spectacular views on the Cleveland Way. It's lovely, all that coastline. So if you do any of them, I hope you really enjoy them.